Whether you like a top vintage gardening 22 Succa shirt it or not, the US spent the second half of the 20th century and the first 10 years or so of the 21st as the world's unquestioned economic superpower, and one of two military superpowers. It remains the biggest cultural power. Latter for me. My depression transcends this pandemic, but since the pandemic, I do not have a healthy outlet. I was in crucial need at the beginning of this and my psychiatrist turned me down 3 times too. It was pretty much emergency time. And need to hospitalize, otherwise I am killing myself. I had to deal with that stress and rushed myself to the hospital twice during that time, freaking I was going to die, but alas, top vintage gardening 22 Succa shirt was just my panic attacks. There's a good reason why so many millions of people have left their own countries to go and live in the US. If America was half as bad as Reddit pretends it is, Trump wouldn't be building a wall to keep foreigners out. They wouldn't want to enter in the first place. He'd be building a wall to keep Americans in. Top vintage gardening 22 Succa shirt, tank top, V-neck, sweatshirt and hoodie, sweatshirt, tank top, V-neck. Now that a top vintage gardening 22 Succa shirts, I think about it. This last. And you sure as hell had no right to make it for the 200,000 Americans who've died in the pandemic so far. They weren't arrested for opposing the lockdowns. They were arrested for conspiring to hold a mass top vintage gardening 22 Succa shirt protest, which breaks local laws governing how many people you can have in a certain area. Conspiring to break the law as grounds for an arrest. Our country was built on genocide and slave labor. Segregation was legal here up until, like, 50 years ago. And past that top vintage gardening 22 Succa shirt, we've had the 1973 Chilean coup, COINTELPRO, and the continued destabilization of the Middle East. I'm not really convinced we were ever really that great. When I was met with it was thrown to the side as, well, help did come in those moments, didn't they? And I knew this was a very bad fit because the guy top vintage gardening 22 Succa shirt was rationalizing my misfortune and claiming his professionalism was happenstance. I haven't been to a shrink since April and I quite literally have gone nuts, and it is super upsetting. Hope everyone else stays safe. Try having to be told to sit inside 24/7 for months and months. Lockdowns are harmful too, whether y'all wanna admit it or not. It's not top vintage gardening 22 Succa shirt too, because according to the left, other products